Hello and welcome to my Bad Girls reunion. You are in for a treat now in the next 2 hours. So the first part of this, we have 9 incredible cast members taking part. Now, the brilliant Claire King, who of course played Karen Betts, and Vicky Alcock, who played one of the 2 Julies, were due to join the call, but because of work commitments were unable to. So they kindly agreed to take part, and they did a special bit which is added on to the end of this reunion. So when you think it's finished, when we say the goodbyes, stay tuned, because we have something very special, another half an hour in fact at the end, with Vicky Alcock and Claire King, plus an extra surprise on that bit as well. So you need to stay tuned for the entire duration of the show, and you're in for a treat. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy. If you do, please give me a like, comment and subscribe. Hello and welcome to this amazing Bad Girls reunion. I'm excited to bring on the cast today. So let's start with the brilliant Lindsey, who of course played Shaz on the show. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you
I've
so
got
much.
my t-shirt on.
I love that. You've come all prepared today. And then we've got the brilliant Vicky Bush, who of course was in the show such a long time. You look amazing, by the way. I said before we came on, you've not aged since Bad Girls.
Smoke, mirrors, lights, virgin's blood.
Great to have you on. Thank you so much. And we got the brilliant Nicole Faraday, who played one of the biggest villains in the show. We got so much talking to you about later. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to see everyone. Some people I haven't seen for years and years, and it's really lovely to catch up. Hooray!
And I'm also so excited now for my next guest. It's the brilliant Alicya, who played, of course, one of the most popular characters on the show, being Denny. So thank you for coming on. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us all back together. It's really nice.
I know, it's so cool. And we've got the brilliant Pauline, who of course played McKenzie. And we've also joined by Kerry, who of course played Maxi. We got the full Peck and Boot gang on the show, which is amazing. How are you both?
Yeah, good. I'm good. I'm actually a bit emotional seeing everybody. It's absolutely fantastic. So thanks. It's brilliant.
Hi, Kerry.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for asking. I've waited 20 years to be asked to do something. 20 years later. Not my favourite thing though, so this is going to be completely useless when you ask.
And we've got the man that banged up women for a living, and one of the worst, I should have worded that a bit better, but one of the baddest characters on the show, of course, Fenner, played by Jack. How are you?
I'm exceptionally well, Lewis. Thank you very much.
And I'm so excited for a special appearance. I know it's kind of one of the first that you've done of these, Kim, of course, playing Buki. So thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here. Really weird seeing everyone after such a long time. The people who I've not been in touch with, it's great.
I guess for all of you, it's a surreal thing because you've done this show obviously many years ago, and I guess you never anticipated that all these years later there would be so much love still for the show. You know, there's a campaign at the moment to get it on Netflix. You know, it's loved by people.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm ready.
Vicky Alcock was on my local radio station the other day talking about that campaign to get Bad Girls on Netflix. I was like, oh, Radio Clyde, Scotland. So yeah, happening.
Right. So I want to start with.
Sorry,
with
it's I'm giving birth. Sorry, what was that? Sorry.
I want to start with you because, of course, Fenner is one of the most notorious and legendary characters of the show and was involved in some of the biggest storylines. When you first kind of got an idea of the character and you read the scripts for the first time, what were your thoughts on that? Because he was such a dark character.
I thought, I can't do this. I thought, to be quite honest, actually the early scripts, he wasn't really that bad. It was about 5, it was about, I think it's episode 5, he started to get a bit nasty and he started to he went after oh god, characters' names, can't remember. Anyway, I started to be really nasty about episode 5. So the first, I just thought it was a great script and would be very interesting and a lot of fun. And also that it looked like I could be one of the only bloke in a sea of ladies, which is not a bad thing to be. Actually.
It was very difficult for you, Jack, if I remember.
Very difficult. It was a real struggle, but I got through 7 series. No, yeah, it was a good. There were good scripts, and I thought it would. But when it went on and got further and further into it, I actually really liked it. I really enjoyed it. But by the time it got to series 7, I think I must have murdered at least 3 of you, and I think I raped at least 12 probably. I think we realised it was probably just got a little bit too far, so I had to go.
What did you think of because the character was such a big character, and his death, it was kind of a massive whodunit, and it turned out it was Julie that killed Jim Fenner. What were your thoughts on that? Because for me as a fan, I always felt there could have been room to bring someone back, somebody that was one of your enemies previously that could have killed Jim. It was such a shock to have it as Julie, and it almost didn't make sense.
Well, I think that quite possibly that was the best way of doing it, is to not have it obvious as to who's going to kill me, because if they had done, then people would have guessed it, and I think it was really good because also those two are such fantastic characters and they're such great actors. I mean, the great thing about this show was that there were some amazing actors in it. I mean, really brilliant, and I think, anyone could have done it, I suppose, but I think it would have been very obvious. Well, actually, I think I'd murdered Linda, hadn't I? Linda Henry's, I think I'd murdered her already. Had I? I can't, it's so long ago, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well, I had, thank you. So it couldn't have been her, but no, I think it was a good choice to do. I think it was both of them, though. Did they both kill me? Can anyone tell me? Can you help me? Anyone?
No,
it was one with the icicle.
Just Big Julie.
It was just her with the icicle. Yeah. Ah, fuck. Yes. That's right. Yeah.
But there was a scene in like the canteen where everybody stood up and went, "I killed Fenner." No, I killed Fenner.
Yeah.
That was part of the scene.
Yeah.
I think that's what it makes.
Monty Python.
Did Fenner die?
Thank you, Shaz.
He did.
Actually, no, he didn't. He didn't. He's still around. In fact, I think they should make. It's Fenner, the series, isn't it? There's a Netflix. They're looking into the idea of doing Fenner, just Fenner.
Wow.
Just Fenner.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Oh, we do like an origin story, like how he became Fenner.
Yeah. And then how he became a big steel medieval knight clad in armour.
What now?
Nicole.
Sitting right behind Nicole, yeah.
Nicole, of course, in the show, Debra's joining.
Hooray!
Debra, you should see Debra on your screen in just a moment. Which is a perfect time, actually, because Shaz and Fenner had a massive part in the show together. He manipulated Shaz Dockley really to do whatever he wanted.
He was in love with her, really. Hello there. Hello, darling.
Was he? Hello, how are you?
Hello, gorgeous.
Can you see everyone?
Very well.
Long time no see. I can only see Jack.
Well, that's the only one you want to see, darling.
On your screen, there should be an option to go to grid view. So there's an option that says view. If you click that, there should be an option that says grid view, and you'll see everybody.
Yes, it's because I'm on my phone. Don't worry.
Oh, well, hello anyway.
Oh, hello. I can see each person that speaks. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. Nice to see you.
And you as well. Who's he?
So we've got
Alicya behind you.
It's just my knight that comes everywhere with me. In the absence of a partner, this will do.
And Alicya is here as well.
Hello, my bad girl.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, darling.
How are you, darling? Are you all
I'm
right?
really well. It's nice to see your little face.
Yeah.
And we've got Kim Oliver's here as well. We've got Pauline, Campbell, Victoria Bush, Kerry, Norton, Nicole. You've got Jack. Everybody's here.
Hello. Hi. Hi, Debra.
Hi. Your hair's so long. Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I see, Kim. You haven't changed at all.
What? Wait, I'm also on my phone and I can see 4 people at a time. If you swipe left, I think you can see 4 people at a time. But I'd like to see everyone. So
oh, yes. I did the swiping left.
Have you got us?
That's something to do with like dating now, isn't it? Swiping left.
You're on Tinder.
So Debra,
we're all going out.
I don't know.
Grinder.
Someone's
know
on
what it's
Grinder.
called.
Judge Rinder.
Grinder's entirely
Grinder,
different.
Grinder.
I actually said Tinder. I know what Grinder
Oh,
is.
you can see where it's gone.
Tinder
can't you?
and
Where
Grindr
it's
for
been
Never
taken.
mind. Never mind.
Grinder's more my thing, Debra. That's not... I mean, Debra, you just created the best moment of this reunion with that.
Oh, when we're only just getting warmed up. To be
You
fair.
joined at the perfect time. We were just speaking to Jack about Jim Fenner, and of course, a massive part of Jim Fenner was Shaz Dockley, because the earlier series, I mean, he manipulated that character. I mean, she just wanted to feel close to him and almost like he loved her, but
Yeah,
it
poor
was
Shell.
it was a toxic relationship. What are your memories of that, you know, working with Jack and the Fenner storyline?
Best not
Be-
to
be very
dig
careful,
over all,
Debra.
all that, really.
And the thing is with Shaz Dockley, as a fan,
Me
watching the
Too
show-
movement's happened since then. Sorry to interrupt, but things are different now. I can't see Jack's face.
Jack, cough and she'll see you.
Oh, hi, Kerry. I haven't seen you. Hello.
I mean, the brilliant thing with, as a fan of the show, when you watch Shaz Dockley, is one minute you hated her, then you loved her because she was this ruthless, nasty at times character, but then you saw a vulnerable side to this, you know, character, that actually she was abused when she was younger. And the more you kind of explore the character, the more you kind of think there's kind of a reason she is like she is. For you as an actress, is that difficult to play such a complex character?
Whose child is that?
Shaz from the show.
Lindsey's had a baby.
Oh, sorry.
Who?
It's too
Just had a
exciting. I will
baby
talk
just
about
now.
that,
Lindsey,
though.
show your baby.
Nice seeing everybody. Yes. I mean, I thank God there was some sort of saving grace, some kind of rationale behind her bad behavior. Oh my God, he's so cute.
He's eating hair gel. So
Oh, don't do that. You'll end up like Jack Ellis.
God, I wish I was that young.
So yeah, just I think it's more difficult to play a character who has no sort of redeeming quality. He's the shell. There was humour, and there was vulnerability. And yes, at least you could sort of say, well, she's had this terrible background. You can see why she's like. There was a really well-rounded character.
We loved her on the show. We really did. And of course, she had an amazing relationship with Denny Blood in the show as well. They were a double act in the first series. She was kind of the sidekick. Alicya, what were your earliest memories of this? Because you started the show, you played Denny, and again, your character developed as well. You started off as this kind of brash, obnoxious character, but then we saw a really lovely side to you, mainly with a storyline with your mum Jessie in the show, which again brought out your vulnerabilities, similar to Shaz Dockley. So what were your memories of playing Denny?
My first memory of Denny was PVC pants. Pink PVC pants down a runway. That's my initial thought of Denny Blood. Deb, do you remember somebody tried to buy them a few years later?
No.
Wow.
Do you remember?
Unwashed.
I wouldn't let them go. No, I think it was a great story for Denny. I think it was important for her to be one of the characters who kind of redeemed herself.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's you can't just. It's quite one-dimensional. I think if you're going to play someone who's just nasty, you've got to see the backstory behind it. And I was really pleased with Denny's story. You know, she was a massive part of my life, and I felt for her. I did miss her when she got out.
Well, we got lots more we want to mention to you about the character, but let's go over to the brilliant Kim Oliver, who I'm so excited has joined us, because I know you don't do a lot of these in regards to Bad Girls, so thank you for coming on. Buki, again, talk about character development. We saw her as this drug dealer, drug addict, you know, just not a very nice person, but then the maternal side came out when she was looking for her child, and then Christopher Biggins ended up taking you home and living with him in one of the most out there storylines in Bad Girls, which made no sense, but we loved it. What were your memories on that?
I had actually forgotten the Christopher Biggins ending. Conveniently forgotten that part.
How could you? I'm not being funny, Kim, but how could you forget that ending?
No, I don't know. I guess I just put it away somewhere. No, like Alicya, I loved the opportunity to do that character arc, because obviously Buki was, most of the time what you saw of her was, you know, quite sort of superficially, you know, on the surface of it, she's just this kind of nutter, really, just kind of bouncing around the place. And when I came into the show, which was my first ever TV appearance, like ever, I'd never been in front of a camera. So I was literally learning in series 3, episode 5, I think, when I showed up. I was learning about being in front of the camera. So it's a bit cringy for me to watch those early scenes, but I loved when I could get my teeth into the storyline that I knew was coming with the baby. He was stillborn in the toilet at King's Cross, and only he wasn't stillborn, and all the lovely stuff I got to do with Baxter. And yeah, that was some really nice emotional work for me. So that was definitely my highlight, that story.
What was Christopher Biggins like to work with? Because it was just such a strange booking. You just still, even, I mention it now, you can see the other cast kind of smiling because it's so out there. I don't think Debra maybe understands that Christopher Biggins. Do you know the storyline, Debra?
No. It sounds awful, doesn't it, that I didn't really watch it? But
you meant the story sounds awful.
Biggins was the best guy ever. Biggins was fantastic, and there was so much laughter on set when Biggins was working with us. It was amazing. It was a highlight for me.
He made some long days really good.
Yeah. Do you remember in the greenhouse when he
in the greenhouse?
One of the worst trumps I've ever heard or smelled in my life. But my God, we just laughed for about 2 hours. The crew were like, what? Yeah. Sorry, Biggins, I love you, but that happened.
I wouldn't have said that story.
That's an exclusive.
So I'm glad that she
can still taste it.
Oh no, please, no, Pauline,
mate.
Oh,
you're too much.
But Kim, that was such
a lot of.
But everybody knows I'm the greatest Trump of all.
I mean, Kim, that was so nice for us as fans to see the character change the way that she did, because it kind of made you feel that actually, you know, Buki being in prison has actually done good for her, because she left as a completely different person, and she was out ready to be a mum with Christopher Biggins and her child. So it was nice to see that character development, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
sorry, but
did you end up with Christopher Biggins? Did you actually?
That's what I was going to ask.
I had to ask someone, because I think that happened, but it feels like some kind of fake memory. Like, it's so bizarre. It feels like that can't have been what happened, but that is what happened. Yeah, I mean, obviously the sad reality is that for a lot of women in actual prison, they don't always make it out in a good place. And so it was great that my character had kind of been through this stuff and managed to process what happened to her, and she looked out with Christopher Biggins.
You know, I actually tried to get him on this show, but it didn't materialize, because I wanted to give the reunion that everybody wanted, but it didn't pay off. But
do you think he's still looking after Lennox? He could have brought Lennox.
Probably. That's probably too busy. One massive part of the show, which I loved, and I know the fans did, was the explosion, of course, caused by Nicole in the show. Snowball caused the death of Shaz and injured many people.
So
but it was such a blockbuster style scene. It was so moving. What was it like for all of you that were, you know, in that to be part of it? Because I know obviously Nicole, Jack, Alicya, Pauline, many of you were involved in this.
Well, for me, it was tremendously exciting, because it was same as Kim. It was my first proper telly job, and to kind of read the scripts when I first got them. Literally every episode, I did something outlandish, like 1 minute I'm American, then I'm Northern, then I'm Irish, escaping as an Irish nun, then I'm blowing the prison up and killing everyone. Then I had car chases and stunt doubles. I had my head set on fire by Debra, thanks very much. And so it was like, it was amazing. It was, as you say, quite filmic. It was kind of like amazing explosions and stunt doubles and everything else. And then obviously culminating with me hanging myself. But I think even though they might say that it was slightly jumping the shark, I think is the term, in the same way as the Christopher Biggins story was perhaps slightly jumping the shark, I still think, like, for the fans, it was an amazing, big, dramatic kind of EastEnders doof, doof, doof end of the series where everyone was involved because all the characters were involved in that storyline and everyone was affected. And it was, I think it was really well done, actually. What do you guys think?
Didn't you get burnt, Vic Bush?
Yeah, in real life.
Yeah, in real life. Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
it was like,
it heated up all my jewellery.
Yeah,
and
that's
burnt
right.
my neck and my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. They put a bit of gel on it and sent me home. It's all right.
Yeah, let's take a
50
towel.
quid, no questions asked.
And obviously, Alicya and Lindsey, that was a big part for a story for you, because obviously you guys in the show were the love story that we all love to watch, but actually it came to an end with that episode with Shaz dying. Because if I remember, you were high on mushrooms thinking that you were going to.
Do you know what? I
dive into sharks.
just had a memory of that. I was just going to say, Lindsey, weren't we like in the middle of the cell? And they were going to like CGI it, and you were tripping out on mushrooms. And
I think
coming in, and we were like, "Oh, look at that! That's smoke! Look at the sea!" It's like really tripping out, and then you went and died.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think I had left or been transferred or something to another prison. Then I come back for a visit, and it just happens to be on this unfortunate day of a huge explosion. Thanks for that.
Do you know, Jack, there's a scene that I love where there was a character called Tessa who kidnapped Karen Betts and was injecting her with a needle of her blood. And you get this hose and you shout Tessa, and then you just literally unleash this fireman's hose and blast her till she falls on the floor.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
He
Yeah.
was always releasing his fireman's hose.
I was always grabbing something hose-like at some point and trying to point it in.
I think I grabbed it at one point.
I did more than grab it, I think. Yes, hoses seem to figure quite a lot in my performance throughout the series.
Maybe you should ask Freud about that, Jack.
Yeah, I'm too young to ask Freud. Oh yes, the human never died.
And Victoria.
Do you know what? I don't remember that. I don't remember a lot about it. I think I must have been on mushrooms all the way through.
Mad Tessa's Fall.
Yeah, she tried to. Shao Dockley had a big scene with her. She pinned her up in the cell and made her pick up her food off the floor.
Oh yes.
Yes, you really are an expert, aren't you?
Oh, I love Bad Girls. My mum wouldn't let me watch it, so it was the natural thing when I was old enough to watch it myself. Because my mum wouldn't let me watch it, I was like, right, I'm going to watch this, and I loved it.
My wife wouldn't let me. My ex-wife now wouldn't let me wouldn't let my children watch it. And actually, she wouldn't let me watch it either. We're divorced now, so.
It always makes you feel really old. Story. When people say to you, "I used to love you when I was 8, but I wasn't really meant to watch it," and you're like, "When you were 8, brilliant, yeah." So
one thing I want to speak to Victoria about was, I don't know if you remember the scene where you did the prison rap, and you're there banging something that people were on Twitter.
Imprisonment is banishment, is punishment, it's a crime. That's what it is. Yeah. Wow.
You've been practicing that, Vicky.
I just remember, I think we did it about 50 billion times. That's not going anywhere, I'm afraid. In my tiny brain, that's emblazoned.
Oh, I love that you just
remember. Does anyone remember Kumbaya? Do you remember that? I remember.
Yes. We used to sing that all the time.
It was Shaz, wasn't it? Who sang that? Sharon?
Yeah, but then everyone used to sing it on set all the time.
I have never actually gone to the toilet front and back during the shooting of all that. That was a nightmare. I just could not keep a straight face. It was terrible. That was funny.
We love Kumbaya. Kerry, I mean, when you came on the show, you were this gang leader, tough, and we've seen her come in, and she was kind of there ready to take on Yvonne Atkins for the top dog role. And again, your character did a complete U-turn, because in the first series that you were in, you were this tough nut, but actually the second series that you were in, you became this depressed, upset. You committed suicide. What were your thoughts on the character change?
Well, I think she went through a change, but as in she was defeated, and therefore that led to the depression. But she was a Robin through and through. So I don't think she ever showed that vulnerable side, or we didn't ever get to see why she was that way to begin with. I think she was just horrible throughout the entire thing. Some of the things I had to do, I remember I put a soap in a sock, didn't I, and beat Vicky. Yeah. Which was just when we were filming that, and we were both just crying. I had to keep, I was turning around and wiping my eyes, just thinking, this is just
it was horrible. It was really hard, wasn't it? And like the one with the lipstick as well, where you got the lipstick and like that horrible, you got me like by the throat, like that was nasty, horrible. I know Kerry was like, I'm sorry.
I mean, for some of the villains on the show, sorry, I was just saying, well, I was going to ask you,
write something a bit softer and sentimental and show a different side to her, but she didn't really appear to have one. She was just horrible. Relentless.
Not like me.
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to ask, Nicole, Jack, Debra and Kerry, really, some of the baddies in the show. Did you ever read the scripts? Because I know a lot of you have... I should carry on with that.
Made it up.
What?
Read the script.
Sorry,
I actually read them. Improv.
Scripting.
We were improvising.
Did you ever kind of read them and think, I can't do this? Because some of the stuff that especially yourself and Debra had to do was so deep, and some of it was cruel. I mean, Debra, a lot of your scenes that you had to do, I remember Denny Blood with the glove and the Marge. It was. I
was just thinking about that. You remember that whole decrutching thing with Lara? Oh. That was probably one of the most difficult scenes I've ever had to do, ever in my life.
That was nasty.
What was the, there was, hold on, there was one where the Julies artificially inseminated themselves, wasn't it? They got
that was kind of fun. That wasn't cruel or mean or anything. I think the meanest thing that I think that we
that was great fun.
The meanest thing I think we did, that's Denny and Shell, was when we put body bag in the coffin.
Oh yes,
I love that.
You remember, Debs, and I think I've spoke about this a couple of times when we were filming it. It wasn't her husband who was in the coffin, and we kind of handcuffed her to the shed door.
That's right. I was telling somebody about it the other day, and I was thinking she was in the coffin, and then it didn't make sense. This is it.
Yeah. And then when
it was Robbie.
She panicked so much, like the safety was all like brilliant, and they unlocked it and like unlocked a handcuff so she could get out quite easily.
But so as soon as the fire went up, boom.
Yeah, she panicked so much that she like locked the door and locked her handcuffs at the same time. So what you saw on screen was actually her really freaking out for her life. And me and Debs are like that.
We were laughing, because they said, keep it going. They would have been very cross if we'd stopped for any reason, because it was expensive to set fire to a coffin. We didn't have another one. It was a big deal. So we had to just stand there staring into the flames and laughing maniacally or manically or whatever it is. Anyway, like maniac. And
maniacally.
Maniacally, that's the word. I knew it was something like. And then she just was so panicked that I think both of us, didn't we, Alicya, thought, is she for real?
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying that, her acting didn't seem real before, but there's a fine line, isn't there, when you know someone and you know their character and you think, hang on a minute, I think we might have I'm not quite sure. And so we kept going, and we felt so guilty afterwards. Do you remember how guilty we felt?
Yeah, because we had to stop filming, didn't we, for an hour or so while she got herself together. And I think me and you just went and had the brandy in the bar to kind of calm down.
We did. I remember that
Wow.
well.
Yeah,
We couldn't get anything else stronger.
yeah. Just the guilt was just like, you know, we were laughing at her being scared for her life, and that didn't feel really good.
No, it didn't feel good at all. As soon as it
Right.
kind of went into something that was real, it felt horrible. But that sort of made it was weird, because I remember that made me feel guilty about enjoying the scene so much, and it made me ask questions about what we were doing really in Bad Girls, glorifying this evil and really just loving every moment of it. It really did kind of make it made me feel bad, and it made me question the whole thing, actually.
You know, I remember as well, like I felt exactly the same as you at one point, because there was like teenagers coming going, I want to go to prison. And, you know, and so you're right about the message, because they loved Bad Girls so much and the characters and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I'd love to go to prison. You're like, no, this is not.
Yeah, that's why I think there was an 18 rating on that particular one, on some of them, because, you know, this is what worries me about people saying, oh, I used to watch this when I was 8 with my mother. And I used to think, well, I'm glad you're watching it with your mother, but I hope that, you know, you didn't get the wrong message. You know, we were horrible, and it was very important to understand the messages behind it. If you didn't get those nuances, and
I'm gonna sound like a real creep when I say this, but I think you've got to. I think what's interesting about it is that all of you were. The reason they want to be in prison is because of you, because they loved all of you. They loved your characters, and they loved who you were, and they loved your the way you were, and they kind of wanted to be with you. And you know, I think that's something that, in a way, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's kind of seductive. You know, people are seduced into it, and they think, oh, that's lovely, I want to be there, I want to be inside that, I'd like to be in that cell, I'd like to be with, you know. But at the same time, then I think what will come along is me, and then they'd think, oh, maybe I don't want to be there, actually, because I don't really want to be threatened, raped, or, you know, beaten up or whatever by
although
him.
really worryingly, Jack, a lot of women used to say to me, oh, that Jack's lovely at that
Even
gym.
now.
Oh no, come now.
Even now, people say, I love Jack. What was it like to work with him? He's so handsome. I really fancy him. And ask me what it's like working with you.
You're making me blush.
So I think we've just established that there really just is something wrong with some people.
You questioned myself now about being a fan of this show.
Yeah, but look, I went to, weirdly, you'd never believe it, but I went to public school, which is, you know, private school. And
no, I would never have believed it, Jack.
You never believed it, would you? No, you wouldn't. Me and Biggins, we went to the same place, actually. No, the thing is that I think that actually, weirdly, you know, there's a kind of, you know, I mean, I went to public school. I hate it. It was horrible. But you watch Harry Potter, and I'd quite like to be there. I'd quite like to go there. I'd like to be in that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You know,
there's a show on Netflix just now called Superstore, where people are working in like basically a Walmart, and it looks so much fun. I love that show. It's funny, and it makes you want to go and work in Asda. So I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about it, guys. It's just the allure of the television, isn't it?
We've gone from Hogwarts to Asda.
That's where it's funny, because that's where I'm actually working.
That's in a nutshell.
I'm working in Asda at the moment.
It might not be glamorous to work in Asda, but there might be some very happy workers there who have camaraderie with all their friends. And I think that's the issue, is that if you can get that somewhere, and, you know, that's perhaps, as you say, Jack, is what people were relating to or feeling that they wanted, was that kind of vibe where everybody's sort of together. And I think the fact that we all got on very well and had a good time as a cast probably came through as well a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think some very
they didn't see all the bitchy bits.
Exactly. They were in the green room afterwards. What green room? Do you remember that first green room we had? Do you remember?
No, because there wasn't one.
There wasn't one.
We used to hang off the edge of the art truck and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember I was like a privileged prisoner because I had my own cell, and in real life that was a real privilege because I had somewhere to go and nap.
That's why I kept trying to rape you, because I knew
Your character.
That's my character.
Sorry, I was blurring the
No,
line.
not me. Sorry. Oh God, it all goes. Whoa.
There's going to be so many great outtakes.
Okay, Lewis, come on.
One thing I'd love to
bring
ask
us back
everybody
to-
now is on sets, a lot of us won't see what goes on behind the scenes. And I want to ask everybody individually if there's a funny memory or a story that you can tell us that you always remember in regards to being on set or during your filming. So starting with Kim, is there anything that stands out to you that you can remember that was funny behind the scenes?
When I wasn't crying, when my character wasn't crying, it was pretty much all funny. Obviously, Christopher Biggins. I mean, that was the most funny in all senses of the word. Ludicrous, ridiculousness. You know, that's so much laughing, so much.
That was a brilliant storyline. We love that. What about for you, Lindsey? What stands out as kind of a funny memory that you can always remember, and with fun memories behind the scenes?
It just reminded me earlier when Debra was saying about how they didn't like us to waste time because it cost money, and there were these moments where you just get too many people in too small a space, and it's just really funny for absolutely no reason. And there was one I can't remember the story, but it was something like someone had got a knife and Linda was trying to find out who had this knife or something, and we were all in
do you remember? It was the Nikki character, and she had to say, we were all sitting in front of her, and her line was, well, we better get this party started. And it was just the way she said it every single time. We couldn't stop laughing. They sent us home in the end. I don't think they got it until like the next day. They sent us home because they were so upset with us.
I know, and people were actually saying to us, like, we're not angry, we're just disappointed. I was like, sorry.
I feel though that I don't know, I just really had this sense, and I was sort of 26 or something, but I've had this sense that we were kids, and you know, that we women, particularly who were prisoners, felt really like we were kids. And what was the director who, not everybody loved him, but I did, Mike Adams. Yeah. And he was older than us, and he was quite strict, and I really liked him, but he was quite strict. And sometimes I think, particularly me and you, Alicya, we just giggled all the time, didn't we? I mean, most of the time we were trying to pretend to be high or something. But we kept just giggling constantly. And do you remember, Jack, when Mike could be quite naughty actually as well, even though he seemed strict, and he made that, I need to see your face when I say this story, he made that turd out of a Snickers bar and a Mars bar. He got props to make it. He put it in the toilet.
Yes.
Yeah, it was when you flushed my head down the loo, so that when I had my head going in the toilet, there it was.
Oh,
yes.
That's right.
That's when, because you two set my head on fire and then flushed my head down the loo, and there was a big turd in the toilet.
That's right. Why did I think that was Jack? Because I think he did so. He played tricks on you as well.
No, yeah.
He did. He definitely did.
Yes, I'm sure he did.
That's a brilliant story.
He wasn't my favourite though. He wasn't my favourite. My favourite was Jim.
Oh, Jim.
Jim O'Hanlon.
Jim O'Hanlon was my favourite.
I mean, who bit her bum? Do you remember that? Who bit her bum? Do you remember him saying that? Might have been to Lara. He'd say, you know, and you're like, who bit her bum? Funny little phrases they used to come out with.
What about for you, Victoria? What stands out as kind of a funny moment that you can always remember? Because you were just funny when we were watching you on the screen. Your character was just hilarious. So what was it like actually behind?
Well, I don't think it was funny for me and Pauline, but it was funny for everyone else. The first day we got there and we did a big canteen scene. Do you remember, Paul? And you got that horrible food and sat down, and I think it was Vicky, Kika and Linda, I think, said to us, now, no matter what, you have to keep eating the food because it looks more realistic, okay? So just make sure you keep eating everything. So me and Pauline literally had never done anything before, literally turned up, we're like, oh, yeah. Well, the rule is you never eat the food. Because you have to keep eating it then. So we ate beans and this horrible pie with sweet corn in it, and we literally ate all day, every single take. And those canteen scenes used to last like 12 hours, and you were in every shot because you were like in the background of everything. So me and Pauline were just by the end like not very happy at all. Do you remember that?
I do. It was disgusting. I still remember it. I hated having a scene whereby you would have to eat the breakfast. Was always the worst, and you'd be sitting like that.
With a load of
trying to look like you're realistically acting, but not eating.
So Lewis, when you watch again, Lewis, look, everyone always does this. Yeah. Oh yeah. Puts it back down. You notice, and that was what happened to me and Paul. Yeah.
I'm going to watch this so differently.
It was the same thing with
dry
biscuits.
biscuits. So that we could eat the dry biscuits, so we'd be munching something, but wouldn't have to eat the egg because it had been there so long it was smelly.
Yeah.
Oh.
We Stevie would sometimes give me crisps or something. Remember the wee yeah.
Oh, what luxury you all
Alicya,
had.
Yes.
do you remember that time when I had to be mad, like I'd gone bonkers, and I was segregated or something in the so rudely called, horribly called, the Muppet wing, and I had this sort of sweatshirt and jogging bottoms on. I had to roll around the cell kind of all day, basically doing these kind of mad scenes, and I kept saying, "Oh, it really stinks. Can no one else smell that smell? It really stinks." And nobody really took any notice of me all day. And then by the end of the day, I was like, I smell of it now. I smell of it. And then this spark came from nowhere, and he went, "What are you talking about?" And I went, "The smell." And he went, "Oh yeah." He said, "There was an old tomcat in here we found." And it must have pissed everywhere.
You were rolling around in it.
I'd be rolling around in it, which is probably why I'm completely mad now, because I've got toxoplasmosis.
So the glamour.
God, your filming sounds like a Bush Tucker trial and I'm a celebrity.
I'm sure a few of you had to pretend to be sick. You know when you have cold vegetable soup in your mouth and you have
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes you actually feel sick. It's horrible.
Yeah, and you just throw your head, don't you, and let it go.
This big cold vegetable soup.
This is not the glamour.
No, that was just after you'd been to the catering. Remember that time, Alicya, when we went to the actual caterers? I'm sure we used to get blur the lines, and we used to be just still half in character, because we went to the caterers, and I got, and there was a curly hair under my piece of fish. Oh. And I went nuts. I was like nuts.
I do remember that. I absolutely remember that.
I was like, "There's a poo under my fish."
I think I remember that.
That's why everyone went to Tesco.
Yeah,
true.
Product placement.
Kerry, what about for you?
Sorry, that was a bit of a conversation.
What is that, Pube or Tesco?
It just happened to be the nearest supermarket.
I mean, we'll move.
Do you remember Alicya? Sorry, go on. I'm getting carried away.
I was going to say, go over to Kerry, just to see if there's a standout kind of funny moment for you that you always remember.
Not one in particular, but I do remember there was a mannequin for some reason on set that we used to use, whether it was a dead body or it was in the hospital or somewhere. And do you remember that they used to dress the mannequin up? And there was one day in particular that this mannequin came out. I think, Jack, you were doing all sorts of awful things to this mannequin, and suddenly it would
really
hair, and then your hands, and then the mannequin everybody was having a go with this mannequin.
Well, maybe it's just I was so desperate to see another man. I was desperate.
And
I was desperate to see another man. If it had a kin on the end of it, I really
Jack,
didn't care. You know.
Jack, you were like tonguing it. You were French kissing it.
Yeah. Come on.
And every time I saw the mannequin on set, I just...
Maniconelia. Maniconophilia.
It was not
Maniconophilia? I don't know. Anyway.
Were you a distraction on set?
Jack was, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day.
I took my job very seriously. Sometimes
he was always on
seriously,
hand.
I'm sure you can remember.
Weren't you?
I do. Well, okay. For me, well, I mean, you know, there are so many. How can I say? What can I say? Dressing up as. I remember dressing up as Claire King and putting on that blonde wig and driving into a bus shelter and running over someone. That was quite funny. When I looked in the car wing, when I looked at myself, I thought, "What the fuck? Well, sorry, what on earth am I doing?" I thought to myself.
You can swear.
But for real,
yeah,
you
I'll
drove
think
into
about it.
the bus shelter.
You never know. There may be people under the age of 10 watching this, because you know. Anyway, what else? I have to say
Kerry
there were
said.
many.
Did you crash for real? Or was that part of a scene, or you really did crash?
Scene.
I didn't crash for real. No. No, that was a stunt driver.
That would be a
There was a
concern if
stuntman
in
in
real
that
life
doing
he
it.
dressed up as Claire King.
I'm not that talented. I'm not that. No. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, there was that, and there was something. Oh, I'm sorry, but I said it earlier. Yeah, actually, that I've got that scene of we were in the chapel, and I don't know why. I think it was Christmas or something, and I'm singing Kumbaya. Singing everyone. I'm laughing now. I find it really funny when we all had to sing Kumbaya. And I was sitting next to Sylvia Hollenby, and the two of us sitting there. And it's not, in a way, it's kind of just those things of it. You're right, actually, Lindsey. You're dead right. It's kind of when a lot of you are in a room together. It's the end of the day, and you're doing something that is really actually faintly ridiculous, and you just get hysterical, and you can't stop giggling.
I remember what it was. You put a banana in your pants.
That's right, you
Oh,
did.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you
did.
have to kind of like you have to kneel down in front of him, and he had to banana in his pants.
I had to kneel
I
down
tried to keep
and
people happy.
unzip his
Yeah.
trousers, which was, you know, just quite challenging anyway.
Was it peeled or
He
unpeeled?
had put, and I thought, oh
Was
my
it peeled
God,
or unpeeled?
it's bulging. I don't know, is it peeled or unpeeled? It was bulging, and I thought, oh my good God. And I just thought, and then all of a sudden, this is what reminded me, all of a sudden, I had to do the zipper, and it went,
Nice one, Debra. Very good.
Maybe something to
Naughty
chew.
boy,
I
Jack.
remember that. I remember.
Alicya.
That was fun. Yeah.
Maybe you could get everyone to sing Kumbaya and give everybody what they want, the Kumbaya reunion.
Was it
You know what?
this year?
Every
Was
Bad
it
Girls
Eunice?
reunion we go to, they sing that, don't they?
Crystal. It was Crystal, but I mean, everybody was in the room doing a Yvonne bought everyone guitars.
Sorry, Crystal. Sorry, darling.
Jack, one thing I wanted to ask you actually was obviously Linda Henry playing the incredible Yvonne Atkins, one of the biggest and iconic characters on the show, and had a big rivalry with yourself. The storyline where you killed her, it kind of really cemented you as the ultimate TV villain. You know, I feel you've just killed the most loved character on the show. Did you think it was a risk to kill, Yvonne off the show?
Did I at the time? At the time, I think I was just working. But I have to say, on reflection, I wouldn't have wanted to kill anyone actually, including certainly Debra. I mean, you know, I think everyone's freezing at the moment. It's not cold. I mean, freezing in front of my picture. Can you hear me, everybody?
We can hear you and see you. Yeah, we can see
okay.
you and hear you.
It's just that I'm in the middle. I'm in the heart of France, and I got very bad internet, and I'm worried that I'm gonna lose you. Anyway,
You
sorry.
live there?
What was the question?
Do you live in
What?
France?
I live in France. Yes.
Oh wow.
You
I've been there
always
for
were
10
a
years.
Francophile.
I know. I'm now.
You always
I'm
just
Frank.
say, I'm a Francophile.
Me and File, we're here. Me and Frank and
Whereabouts?
File. I'm actually currently my brother's in the Tarn, which is near Toulouse. Near Toulouse, but I actually live in Arles, where Van Gogh lived.
Lovely.
Or
I lived in
painted, yeah.
Provence for 3
Did you?
4 years. Yeah, we just moved
Oh
back.
well,
to
you know it
London.
well.
Yeah.
You know my manor. You know my manor. So you just moved back. Oh, alors. Sorry, what was the question? Hang on a minute. Let's get
So
back to
you were talking about obviously killing Linda off the show because the
killing,
fans loved
Linda.
her.
Killing Linda. Linda was brilliant. I mean, she's and it was a very strong storyline, and I think I mean, look, you know, as actors, unfortunately, we are powerless. Really, we are merely the instruments of writers and producers, and then you know, and then the director's director. So, if I'd had the choice, I probably would have done quite a few things slightly differently with the actual way the series went. But you know, you're powerless over that. So I think that I would not necessarily have killed Linda. No, I probably would have got Linda to kill me. Actually, I don't know. It's difficult when you've got very seriously villainous characters, you know, and they're the sort of they're kind of at each other. It's difficult to know, and also it's a quality of writing. It's down to writing as well. You know, you need good writers to weave and do interesting things with it. But yeah, I wouldn't have killed Linda, but I certainly would. I wouldn't have killed Debra either.
I mean, what I loved was when the Fenner.
Killed.
No, I didn't kill you. I mean, I wouldn't have let you asked you whatever.
Pauline killed.
I nearly did for you.
Yeah, I know. I still got the scar. Do you want me to show you? No. I
was going to get a bottle as a prop, but all I've got is this.
Got a carton.
Well, that's nearly as scary. Actually, I was going to say that was pretty horrible when you actually stuck a bottle in my stomach. That wasn't very nice.
Actually. Sorry. Right. Can you forgive me?
All is forgiven.
All right.
Jack,
I mean, an olive.
Do you remember the storyline with?
You should come here. We've got loads of olives here. We've got tons of olives. This is a home of olives. Sorry, go on.
Do you remember the storyline with Mr. Grayling? That kind of, for us watching the show, we saw a comedy side to Jim Fenner, which was quite nice. It was something different.
Yeah. My son keeps baiting me with that. My son keeps going. So Dad keeps saying it. Keeps saying. You're never going to believe it. He's after my arse. He just keeps me. So, Dad, go on, say it. So he comes along with another friend and he says, Dad, go on, say that line. So you're never going to believe this, but he's after my arse. It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
How old's Theo?
But I mean, what? How is he?
How old's Theo now?
Theo, do you know who Theo is? Theo is in a band. Yeah. I can't really name the band because they're actually quite famous now. So, but he's very successful now. He's in a band.
Why can't you name the band?
What? I don't know why.
He doesn't want to associate with people like us.
Because it's his life. Because it's his life, not mine. You know, so he can. You know, you can look at
you. Don't want to tar him.
Yeah, good.
His band. You don't want to tar his band with your filthy Jim Fenner brush. That's what it is.
Kim,
very filthy.
Do you know what? You're so right. And it's so nice to hear you. That is the Kim I remember.
Kim,
okay, he's in Wolf Alice. Do you know a band called Wolf Alice? Anybody?
Wow.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
I did not know that was your son.
My son is a Mercury Prize winner.
Very exciting.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Congratulate him on all the Bad Girls.
Oh, the little one, wasn't he?
Yeah. What? He was what?
He was just a little one. He was only really little.
He was. But you've had a little one as well. You had several little ones.
Well, I got two.
I
got two. Because of course I had to do Bad Girls when I was really heavily pregnant and do the birth scene, which I'd said to my agent, make sure they don't have me giving birth in it because it's so close to my actual labour. It might bring my labour on. And then we had a midwife standing by because they did write it in. Oh, that was hard. And when they took the baby away, do you know, it was about 12 years, 15 maybe, before I could talk about this without crying, even though it wasn't real.
Wow.
But it was so awful when they took the baby away and said, and that was your fault. It was Jim's fault. It was Jim's fault. It was so awful because my hormones were so, you know, real. And then the babies were real. They just weren't mine. And it all got very, it was really, really upsetting. But the worst thing was I then went to a real jail in America to do a documentary, an immersive documentary at that, where I spoke to a woman whose real story was that she gave birth in custody and they took the baby away and she never got to see her baby and she was crying. It was really, really awful. And I know, you know, we've all been laughing and everything, but just to go back to the show and to sort of pay tribute to the show in a way, to do something like that for me afterwards and see that they'd been so close to some real stories. Yeah, it was just incredible. It, you know, it shows that the writing was very good and they were on the money with a lot of those storylines.
I agree entirely. I mean, there was,
remember when they took us to visit a prison?
Yes,
When,
yes, I
Winchester.
do.
Did we go to
It was
Winchester?
that scene with Jodie Foster, wasn't it, with the Hannibal Lecter when she walks down the. Do you remember that? We had to go past the what they call the nonces, and they had the little windows shut, and we're looking through the little windows.
Yeah, do you remember the alarm went off? Do you remember
yeah.
that the first prison that we went to, the alarm went off and they kind of like shoved us into like this room for a minute or two.
Yeah.
Remember, we shut ourselves. We were like, "Oh my god, this is really frightening."
Just made it all. I remember like going, and we were all like, "Well, we're on a day trip. We're going to the prison. That's fun. Let's have a laugh." And then we got there, and it was just, oh my god, it was awful. And everyone was so young, and there were so many people with mental health problems, and it just really made it so real and so just. And everybody watched the show, of course. Everyone was like, "Oh, we love this show. It's like the highlight of our week or whatever." And
I think when we started it, you know, it was a really serious drama about real issues.
I agree.
And I think, you know, that it kind of here and there we lost that and it became a bit pantomimic, you know, but there were definitely aspects of that, and we started off hardcore.
Well, I was going to say, because I hung myself in series 5 and I was devastated because it was the end of my best job I'd ever done, ever. And I remember having spent the day shooting and it was all very traumatic, got in the car and I was still in tears. And the driver said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I've just filmed myself hanging myself. Like, that's the end of my job." And he kind of went really quiet. And I went, "Are you all right?" He said, "My best friend hung himself in prison." And it so completely made me think, oh my God, I'm crying because it's the end of my job. But actually, as you said, Bad Girls did actually have some really hard-hitting storylines, and that were really, you know, it was very important stories to be told, and it really did affect people. So although there were bits of it that were very silly and over the top and funny, I think there were some really serious storylines that really
my
spoke
death
to a lot of
was
people.
based on someone who actually did commit suicide that way. She was on a suicide watch, and then she asked to go to the toilet, and obviously the guards were stood outside the toilet, and that was where she shoved toilet paper down her throat, and she actually did kill herself that way. And so when we were filming it together, weren't we, Pauline? Do you remember that day as well? It was just
that was one of the most horrific scenes I filmed the entire time. Horrible.
You have to put yourself in the shoes of that, knowing that someone actually really did this, that they were of despair.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it affects you so much. Yeah. Even though it's not real for you, you know it's real for someone.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, storylines, gay storylines. There was storylines where, you know, a lot of black characters were coming in, and then at the time there was very little. I mean, there wasn't a lot of that going on in those. When was it? 1999 we started. It was aired in 2000. You know, there was stuff. There were issues that were being dealt with, which just weren't being dealt with anywhere else. But it never actually got. It was always. I always felt it always annoyed me that the sort of the intellectuality of the world, even though we got over 9 million people, it was an extremely popular series, that there was still a sort of snooty, snobby attitude towards it, which I'm afraid slightly annoyed me, actually, you know, and I think that actually there were some storylines that were true, but B, dealing with issues that have never been dealt with before on television before. And
That's very true. I think the abuse storylines are now coming out more and more, but it's 20 years ago, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It was shocking. And the people who I've met who are fans who have said, you know, it really meant so much to me to see that and to see Shell's story and to know that I'd been through that and I couldn't be the only person that had been through that if it's been written into this drama, because Shell's gone through it on the TV and that's what I've been through, and it was like a way of being able to express it somehow through Bad Girls, through watching it and through it being on, through knowing it was on.
I mean, I know you've all been so generous with your time, so I'm conscious if some of you may need to go. So
yeah, I might have to go because it's my wee boy's birthday and we need to do the birthday cake.
Oh my
Thank
goodness!
you so much.
God bless him. He's giving me evils in the background, so I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you.
Amazing to see you all. Love you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon, okay? Bye.
So I've just got another question to ask everyone, if it's okay, which is when you think back, I mean, Debra was just touching upon, and I completely agree. When you watch the first series and then the last series, it almost feels, just from a viewer's point of view, it's a different show. Because, you know, I love the first 1 to 7 was it for me. I always felt they did one maybe too much. But when you think back to your time on the show,
I wasn't in the last.
There we go. That was it. See, it just, we didn't have Fenner.
I couldn't resist that.
Die and leave. I died in series 5. Kerry, you died in series 4, didn't you?
Yeah. So all those.
Yeah.
When did you die?
I was series 5, but with a break.
Alicya, you got out and went off to be an artist, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I got sent to an open prison, didn't I?
Yeah.
Just me then.
That was series
Just you that stayed, yeah.
Is it just
You're
you
still
left?
there. You're still there, aren't you?
And I was only supposed to be in 6 episodes, so.
Wow.
There you go. That's a testament to how good you are. They kept you on.
Was anyone here asked to go
Where's
back?
Buki gone?
We never worked together. We never. I think I filled in the gap when you were gone, and then Nicole, you came in when I was killed, and then
I came the episode after you died, I think, or 2 episodes after.
So Debra and I are the only ones that never actually got to work together on the show.
Although I killed Lindsey, so I think we
I didn't work with you.
We'll have our own show, Debs. Oh no, I'm dead.
Was anybody here asked to go back to the show? So once you've left, you know, those that weren't killed off, was anyone asked to actually go back but said no to returning?
No, because you came back, didn't you, Debs? Because you had left and you came back for those 4 episodes while you were heavily pregnant, as you said.
Yes, I'd left and I felt like I'd done I thought they'd written so much for Shell. It was so fantastic for me. And I just thought, what more really can be done? And I was quite young and ambitious, and I thought, no, I need to, you know, I think I need to sort of just leave it while it's good. And then when I was pregnant, I sort of thought that would be really, they asked me to come back, and I thought, yeah, that would be really great to go back for a while before I have my baby. Just thinking practically, I want to work, then have my baby and have a bit of time off. So that's how that kind of worked out. And I'm not even sure, I can't remember if there was, I don't think either party particularly were worried about me going back. I can't remember, but I know I certainly felt that I'd done it then, you know.
And I remember because
nowhere else to take Shell.
You had dark hair, and obviously Shell had blonde hair, and they did it the opposite way round to what the viewers see, didn't they? Because you had blonde hair and put on a dark wig when it was actually the other way round. Yeah,
with no disrespect to the show, I remember crying when I went for that costume fitting, and I was 6 months pregnant, and I had to wear PVC from top to toe, and that huge
penis.
Huge penis.
That was Amsterdam. That was in Amsterdam. That's where we did that in Amsterdam, didn't we?
Yes, that's right. And I had to, and then I cried.
I had to chase you through the streets.
Yeah, you had to chase me through the kissing. I just got my penis stuck in the kissing gate.
That's right. That's right.
Which is a strange thing for me to say. I got my penis caught in the kissing gate. But I did.
What an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you it was the
that's
show
where
that...
it felt for me like it went a bit pantomimic. The way that he was, you know, Jim Fenner just happened to be with some of the other lads in... Yeah. I know coincidences happen. I do believe in serendipity, but yeah, it was just a bit of a... It was a far cry from the sort of the beginning where it was very serious. In some ways, it was great fun. But yeah, I cried having to put on all these hideous clothes when I was pregnant. I thought I shouldn't have come back to work. I should just be resting now, because it was so obscene. And I just wanted to wear Laura Ashley dresses and bake cakes and have naps, and that was it.
Wasn't going to happen. Alicya, you seem to nod when I asked that question. So were you asked to go back after you left the show?
Yeah, it was kind of, because I kept in touch with Brian Park and I got, you know, the kind of Shed production team after I left. And yeah, there was talk a couple of times of kind of making a return, but I think I'd be kind of, it wouldn't be true to the character for me. Like, obviously I missed the show. It was such a massive part of my life, and I really missed the girls and everybody and the honorary girl, Jack. But there was no way for me that I was gonna go back. I wanted her story to end in a positive light, and I think it would have been cheating Denny a little bit if I'd have gone back.
Well, I've got one more question for everybody, if it's okay, which is we've spoke about funny moments of the show, stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but what stands out as your all-time favourite moment in Bad Girls history? So it doesn't even need to be about your character. It can just be something that, you know, when you think about Bad Girls, it's what you think about. So starting with Lindsey, is there a moment for you that stands out as the highlight or the, you know, the biggest moment?
I think it was, you know, we had a lot of fun and there was a lot of friendship and just good times. And something that just popped into my head now was one time it was my birthday, and for some reason I was really feeling quite tired, and I think we'd had some long days, and I was just being a bit like, it's my birthday and I'm at work, which is really stupid. But Kim Oliver appeared with a present for me, and it was just like the loveliest thing. And I always think about it on my birthday still. I think about that time when I was surprised with a lovely present from Kim. It sounds really soppy now, but it was things like that, just little things.
That's amazing.
Kim, have you got your video on?
Did you hear that? She was eulogising about your
present. I did hear that. I'm having like most ridiculous tech issues. It's fine. I'm here. That was really sweet, Lindsey.
Okay.
It was just so thoughtful. It was just like such a lovely thing to do. Thank you.
Oh, Victoria, what about you? What stands out as your biggest moment? And also, you've given me one of mine by reenacting that prison rap. I'm so chuffed that you've done that. So what was your standout moment?
I just got to do such stupid things. I mean, they dressed me as like a George Michael gnome at one point. I slipped on some sausage grease and slid on a trolley down the wing. My favourite of all time, though, was when I robbed the bank, or tried to rob the bank.
Yes.
Because obviously I'd never got to do anything like that ever, and literally just stood in this bank with this gun going, everybody on the floor! And it was amazing because everybody just did. Yeah, I loved that. That was brilliant. But just all those scenes with riots and all the times that we were all together for a long time, we just always had such a good time that it was brilliant. I look back on those times really fondly. Yeah, it was excellent. We just had each other, and it was so long hours, but we were just making each other laugh and doing stuff, and it wasn't like work really. Sometimes it was, but you know, we did have a great time. It was brilliant.
And the difference with your characters, we saw obviously characters like Denny, and you know, when they actually left to go, they went on to do something different with their lives, you know, but your character, endearing essentially, because prison was your life, it was your family, it's all you knew. So every time you were released, you came back, and that was the difference. It was actually quite nice to see, because you didn't mind being in there.
Yeah, well, they did that thing where they, you know, this happens a lot to people that they just get institutionalized, and they just get so used to being in that environment, and then when they're released, they can't cope with being outside. And I think, you know, we had lots of chats about, you know, the people that this happens to, and obviously Tina was a prime candidate for that, because she'd been disowned by her family, she'd lost Maxi, she'd lost Al, she'd sort of lost everybody, and the Julies were her family. So it was, yeah, it just made sense for her to keep reoffending to come back.
And we didn't ask you about, obviously, Virginia O'Kane, where you took the surname. What was that like to work with such a legendary actress like Kate? Because that must have been like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was. She was so nice as well. She was a really, really lovely lady. And yeah, it was, yeah, I just remember the first time I met her, just was like in awe of her completely. Yeah, I love that storyline though, because it was sort of Tina's first sort of, I don't know, just realizing that there was a little bit, I mean, she didn't realize she was being groomed to, you know, go and work for Virginia, but you know, she just saw it as somebody like seeing something in her and thinking that she could break away from, because she was there by association more than anything. She was there because of Maxi. She wasn't particularly a bad person, she just sort of got caught along with it. And you know, it was always sort of widely documented that she wasn't that bright and that she hadn't really got a lot else to rely on. And I think it was just like a bit of a glimmer of hope and a way out for her. So that was nice in that respect. And then obviously Kerry,
didn't I? Like killing
well,
her.
it was we had those, that's when we had all those scenes, because obviously Kerry's character Maxi realized she was sort of losing her grip, and then we got to play all those fun scenes. So that was good, wasn't it, Kerry?
Yeah, no, that was great. And yeah, Kate was lovely.
She was really nice, wasn't she?
Felt really wrong when we're doing that scene we drowned her in the bath.
Yeah.
Was that Kate O'Mara?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, she always attached herself to people, didn't she? You know, your character, you were the third Julie at one point. You know, we loved the two Julies, and then they added a third. So it was almost like she needed to have backup company, wasn't it? It was quite nice to see.
Yeah, she couldn't stand on her own 2 feet. She wasn't equipped for it, and she just needed to be sort of part of something. And I think that all started when the Peck and Boot gang disbanded. I think it just sort of left her a bit bereft, and she just ended up sort of latching onto whoever she could. So yeah.
And Nicole, what about for you? What stands out as the biggest moment that you remember?
Well, because she was such a troublemaker, I spent so much time on my own, which was a bit miserable, really, because I was always off down the block for having tried to escape. I enjoyed doing the car chases, and I enjoyed all the kind of explosions and everything else, but I did not enjoy being in that grey prison regulation tracksuit, being down the block when everyone else was having all these fun scenes filming together. So I agree with Vic, actually. I think the things I enjoyed the most was when we were all together. So for me, towards kind of earlier on in my character, before everyone hated her and before I kept trying to kill myself, I enjoyed it when she was still kind of full of sass and kind of part of the big group scenes, because then we all got to spend the day together and have lunch together. And it's just nice. It's the camaraderie, really. It's always nice working with people rather than having loads and loads of scenes on your own, stuck in a cell, because that's a bit miserable.
And you know, the thing is, Snowball was such a devious character. There was a moment where even Jim Fenner in the show, I think he said to Snowball, "You're not even sorry for what you've done in regards to the explosion." And to have someone like Jim Fenner that doesn't really have a conscience, he's even questioning kind of, that shows how bad you were really as a character.
See, I don't know, because when I play a character, I've played quite a lot of baddies now. I don't know why. But I always kind of try and somehow... I feel like I kind of have to slightly make excuses for her, or kind of come to a decision as to why she behaves like she does.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't put her in the same category as necessarily some of the other baddies who were just evil and nasty two people. Yes, she was completely selfish and all she wanted to do was escape and be with her boyfriend. But I think that the casualties, the people dying and being maimed or whatever else, were like, they were kind of just casualties of what she wanted. It wasn't that she set out to kill people. She just wanted to escape at any cost. And so not that makes her any better, really, but I I don't see her as being a right, I just want to kill everyone person. She's just so selfish and in her own world that she just will do whatever it takes to do what she wants to do, whether it means people die left, right and centre or not.
She used to always do like a little smirk as well when something kind of went her way. It was always that kind of look that she would give. But now for Alicya, you were on the show for such a long time, so you must have kind of so many to choose from. What's the best moment for you?
It's a really hard question. I think, do you know what I really enjoyed? Because we were like institutionalized, weren't we? And it was, sometimes we'd go to work and we wouldn't see daylight. You'd get to work in the dark and you'd go home in the dark. So it was a bit crazy, but I loved going to Oxford, where we shot all the outside.
Yeah, I agree.
I missed that.
Totally loved it.
Just going on
Just to get out, yeah.
And we just went. And I think we ruined Oxford quite a few times, a lot of us. But that was like, we were all just naughty. It was great. So for me, and that, you know, just meeting like everybody I worked with, you know, I got to work with some incredible people, you all included, obviously.
Definitely Beecham.
Definitely Beecham and Amanda.
Yeah.
You know,
Amanda was lovely.
Amanda was
lovely.
Amanda Barry.
So just the whole experience, but Oxford really stands out for me. Oh, and there's one line as well. Does anybody remember? Big hair and long tits. You remember? Linda Henry had a line and she had to say, "It's all right, you've got long hair and big tits," and she kept getting it wrong and saying
Babes behind bars. Babes behind bars. Who forgets that?
Yeah, with the phones.
Oh yeah, the sex lines. Yeah, we got up to all sorts of stuff and just exploring, like, you know, crazy storylines like that. You know, it was but kind of.
And Alicya, Spain was fun. We got to go on holiday.
Oh yes, I'm very jealous of that.
We got there and they said, right, you've got to start work immediately, and we were like, oh right, okay. And the first job was to go on the roof and get a suntan. We were like, oh, okay then.
Yeah. When I escaped, I was just on some East London parking lot, and you were in Spain.
I know, we were there as well, I think. But yeah, that was quite glamorous. And do you remember when we had to jump off? And they wouldn't let us jump into the sea because of insurance, but they didn't mind instead if we jumped onto some cardboard boxes from a great height, which was far more dangerous and painful. We were so bruised. It's actually no joke jumping into cardboard boxes.
I was really sore for like quite a few days after that.
Me too. I had massive bruises.
Yeah.
God, I appreciate the show
really
even
sorry,
more.
but I'm going to have to go because I've got to.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks so much.
Lovely to see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Lindsay.
Bye. Bye.
What about for you, Kerry? Then, what stands out as the biggest and best moment for you?
Oh, I think character-wise, that's a hard one to answer because, like we said earlier, she was just such a horrible person. I didn't exactly have any, you know, I spent most of the time after doing my scenes trying to get rid of that emotion and feeling because I was constantly beating Tina up or fighting with Yvonne, killing Kate O'Mara. You know, there was nothing, anything really fun and nice. So I suppose for me, it was the first day on set, you know, arriving at this, what at the time was one of the most popular shows on television, and then seeing the set in real life. And actually Vix and Pauline and I would all been at the audition.
Oh, that's nice.
Amazing experience too, because I wish I was as bold as I was then. I went full method for the audition, and because she is so far removed, Maxi so far removed from my character, I remember being in the toilets and doing push-ups. I had a Capsi t-shirt on and like I did push-ups so that I was all buff, and I remember I sat at the desk and put my legs up on the desk and did the whole audition with my feet up, and in my head I was thinking this could go really wrong, and if I don't book the job then they're just going to think, who was that twat who's just put her feet up on the desk. But anyway, thankfully I did get
so brave.
And I didn't talk to you lot, did I, Vix? I was just
no, she just sort of sat there.
I can't break.
You thought she was all right?
What was that then? Yeah, it was a bit. Yeah, everyone was really nervous anyway, so it sort of like added to it, I think.
So I think that on the first day on set, to finally get there and be able to go hi, and just suddenly show who I was and just have fun with everyone, and yeah, and it was just this overwhelming fun experience to be there on the set of Bad Girls and see the set and see all these actors who you'd been watching on telly and just be, oh, I've arrived, this is it.
It is like being the first day at school, isn't it? New girl at school.
Yeah, no, it was just every part of it, in the makeup rooms and all the makeup artists who were all so lovely as well, and all the banter that you'd have in the morning doing hair and makeup, and all the crew, Steve, and who was the other one? Was it
Bob,
Steve and Bob? They were like
Chippy. Who's the Chippy? Jimmy. Chippy.
Jim the painter, yeah.
Jim.
Dan,
the
the young guy who actually,
What about for you, Jack? What stands out? Because you, again, you've got so many memories on the show because you were part of literally every big storyline. So what stands out to you as your all-time favourite moment if you had to kind of pick one?
Talking to me? No, you're talking to me. Okay. Okay. I've got to say, I mean, look, I mean, Jim Finnegan away was a gift. Do you know what? I'd like to do it. I'd like to do it again because there was such an enormous amount of talent around, and it wasn't. You can only be as good as the actors that you're working with. I mean, the reason I was good was because Debra was good in those storylines, because everyone else was so brilliant. I mean, I didn't have to do a lot. I just have to be. But the thing about me, I suppose the moments that I can remember. Well, I tell you what, Bill Nye said that you should never really go naked on screen, right? You should always, say no unless there are very, very, very good reasons for it. And I wish I'd heard that before I actually did the scene, and I had to walk naked through the prison, declaring my innocence, that I was completely guilty, of course, but I was showing how innocent I was. Walking towards 35 women, all of whom basically I knew and had worked with for a considerable amount of time, completely stark naked, full frontal, walking towards them in a freezing cold set, And it was not warm. It was not warm that day. And
what are you saying, Jack?
Looking.
I keep making excuses.
What are you saying? What are you trying to say? Just say it.
It wasn't a very pleasant experience, right?
I can't believe they made you do that.
It's only because the producers wanted to see me naked. No, you'd have to cut that one out. Look, you know what? That's the problem. The question is such a big question because there are so many amazing things that went on. But I do think I still remember. I do dressed as Claire King. I'm sorry. I mean, driving in a car and driving into a bus stop and knocking someone over, and I just thought, what on earth am I doing? But also, I would genuinely like to say, really, that I think it's funny because I mean, I don't know. As actors, as an actor, you get nervous. You get, because I do, and they'll all say, yeah, he does. You know what? I'd love to do it again because then I think just to be able to actually be able to look at what I was doing at times, it would be great fun to be able to have an eye on what I was doing because I did enjoy it enormously. But at the same time, I'd like to do it again because it was a kind of special time. And this group and seeing everybody again is actually really lovely. It's really nice to see you all again.
Yes, thank you, Lewis, for organising this.
I know, thank you for everyone being so generous. It's been amazing, and to hear all your funny stories. So, I mean, we'll go to Kim now to find out your kind of all-time moment of the show.
I don't feel like I had an all-time moment. I was going to say actually what Alicya said, that the highlight was definitely getting to go to Oxford because it's, for those of us in cast who were prisoners, we did have to spend a lot of time on that set, like a lot of time. Even when you weren't in the storyline, you were there because basically they can't explain you being anywhere else. So a lot of background work, when we got to go to Oxford, we just broke out. We just broke out. It was like, thank God. And yeah, there was a few heavy nights and maybe not so well remembered scripts in the morning.
It was the days of the little brown envelopes as well. So that was even
God.
we used to get paid.
Yeah.
We used to get these little envelopes for spending money. So it was even
I'm
better.
so jealous. They built the blooming fake set by the time I joined, so I missed out on Oxford. I heard it was like just basically nice, jolly, go and get drunk and have a laugh, and I missed all of that.
So was
It was
Oxford a
freeze your
set?
tits off all day, to be fair. You'd be absolutely freezing all day, and then you were miserable. By the time you got to the hotel, you were just ready to have a lot to drink, and it was party central, and it didn't matter to us because I suppose because we were so young. Like now, if I'm working, I think I you know, a couple of weeks before, I think, right, I'm gonna just knock the wine on the head. I'm not having anything now until I finish the job. I'll go months without anything. Then I was like, well, and then do you remember that time, Alicya, when we went to the awards and we got back really, I remember getting out of the taxi at about 5:30, and then my actual taxi, no, it must have been 6 because my actual taxi was there waiting for me to take me.
It was waiting for you to go
to
work.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I was still on
That's a
set.
story.
I was still drunk from the night before. It was really deeply unprofessional. I'm not proud of it as I'm saying it now. It's the only time I've ever done it, but I think I got away with it because we'd won. We'd won Best Drama.
What did you film in Oxford then? Because I always thought that the actual prison was a real prison.
Yeah, no, it's now the Malmaison. It's actually a hotel, and it was a prison, and it was the last hanging. It was the last hanging prison. There was a hanging cell. It was the oldest.
We would go into, and that the legend had it. That was the room where they used to hang them, and it had.
Yeah, they took us there, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was all the exterior shots originally were filmed at Oxford.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
It was
exercise
exterior.
yards,
And then they built
all of that.
Built the set.
And that's a museum now.
The
Oh,
set.
incredible.
Yeah, I've
No,
been
it's a
I
hotel.
took Zoe. I took my daughter. We went to
Oh,
the
yeah.
museum. So it was a strange one because it was a museum about the actual prison and the Dark Ages and the hangings and all of that. But then I could also say to her, and this is where we filmed Bad Girls, which she still hasn't seen, even though she's 14. I'm like, no, don't watch that.
But do you know what because when people say, as I said earlier on, 8-year-olds say, I used to love you in Bad Girls. And I'm just like, actually, I wasn't even allowed to watch Grange Hill growing up. So I don't these parents
I
let
was
them watch
always
Bad Girls.
horrified.
You
I
what?
was always horrified. Linda Henry would let her daughter watch it, and I think she was about 7 at the time. I was like, and mine are 16 and 13 now, and I just let my 16-year-old watch a little bit because I was like,
really
what happened
cool
in that
now?
storyline? So I put it on, and he's like, Mum, I get to see you in that. But yeah, she had a little girl.
Well, you're
watching
very
it.
lucky. You're very lucky because it means that you don't have a child coming up to you who's now sort of 29 saying, go on, say it. You're never going to believe this. He's after my arse.
That's going to go viral on
I
TikTok.
love that that's the line he
I'm
makes you
60
say over and over again.
I'm 66 years old and I'm having to do this. It's so sad.
The
It's
line
so
I
sad.
The line I get asked to say is, I'm going to cut your tits off and make curry out of them. And I had to do, talking of auditions, that was the one that I had to do in my audition, was that scene where I had to say that. And I remember the casting director sort of saying, I know, just do this on me. You can get hold of me, it's fine. We just need to see that you can be really nasty. And it was so difficult. She was such a nice lady and she was really petite and she was kind of, a little bit more mature. And I thought, I can't do this. And then I had to just get hold of her and actually rough her up and actually say it to her. And so, I'm not surprised, Kerry, that they liked the method because they really wanted. You were there, weren't you, Jack? You were in my audition. You were in one of them anyway, maybe not that one. You're in the next one because Jack got the job before me. And then they wanted to make sure that we had chemistry. And so my audition was then with Jack.
Wow. Debra, one thing about you we wanted to know is obviously
what?
I'll say one thing I wanted to know with Debra is you're this amazing impressionist. Did you ever impersonate your fellow castmates, like in front of them?
No, I didn't really, I don't think. No, I don't really think that is anything that it's surprising, isn't it? You'd have thought so, but no.
Alicya looks like you may have done.
You did.
Oh, did I?
She did. Remember. Of course she did. She must have done.
I do. Hollandby.
I knew it. I
remember. I had one line. It's coming. It's and I can't remember who it was. Was it to you, Debra, or was it to Linda? It might have been, which is, I've shat cleverer slags than you and wiped my ass with them after.
Who said that?
Anybody remember? I did.
You said that?
Yeah,
I said it.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a nasty piece of work.
Yeah, I didn't write it either. I was given it to say.
My favourite line I said to you, Jack, which was a similar scene to what Debra did, where I go down and I unzip your pants, and then I come back up and I say, "Fucking hell, who let the air out?"
Sorry, my yeah.
Debra, can you do Sylvia Hollandby?
I've got a special pump.
Debra, can you do an impression of Sylvia?
It's all about Bobby's meatballs.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Well, no. But I've just remembered that her going on about Bobby's meatballs all the time. I think that's what you used to do.
Oh yeah.
Hi, Bobby's meatballs. It was probably something like that, but I can't really remember it anymore. But I think maybe Mandana. I think for some reason I used to say Nikki's lines as her sometimes in that cheeky way. I can't really remember. I'm sorry. I've kind of gone in a bit of a cul-de-sac there.
What was your?
We used to have fun with Mandana though, didn't we? Because we had fights and things.
She wanted to join us today, but she sends her love. But for you, what was your standout moment? Because we've heard so much about. Yeah.
So many. I mean, I think jumping off the yacht was great, and I think all those times when you do get off the main set, out of the prison, it always felt like a treat. I really liked it when Denny and Shell escaped together and we handcuffed someone on the toilet. Oh, the poor guy who then ended up, he was a lovely actor, a very good actor, ended up in the coffin. And but we had to pretend to snort cocaine. Do you remember? And they gave us
glucose. It was glucose, and by the end of it, we had to snort it all day long. And by the end of it, we were so high. We were like,
yeah. It's a good job we weren't method. We'd been dead. We were high off glucose, and do you remember though? We kept having little cigarette, even though I didn't smoke. We kept having cigarettes to make us really high and kind of mad and manic, and loads of Red Bull. And we drank so much Red Bull, and then all this glucose. Well, we were absolutely off it by the end of the day.
I don't think I slept for about 3 days after that.
Oh, hearing these are just brilliant. I want to say thank you so much to everyone for taking part in this. And I know the fans are going to love hearing from you. It's such an iconic show and you all played such a big part in it. So thank you so much for being so generous with your time and coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for organising it.
Thank you. And it's so lovely to see everyone. We should do this again another time.
Hello and welcome to this extra part of the Bad Girls reunion. Now, the two lovely ladies on my screen couldn't make the first one because of work commitments, but kindly agreed to take part in this extra special edition. We've got the amazing Claire King. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello.
Amazing. And a good friend of the show, the lovely Vicky Alcock, one of my favourite humans, because every time I talk to you, you just make me happy. So thank you for coming back on.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for being here, especially with my great mate Claire. Yeah, it's good to see Vix again, because we haven't seen each other for ages and ages and ages. we sort of text, don't we, every now and again, and we keep in touch, but not in the flesh or anything. Well, of course not in the flesh at the moment, but yeah, it's really good to see you both. Thank you.
And just to make sure, can you see everyone? Have you got it on grid view where you can see each other?
Yes, I have.
Perfect. So, yeah, I mean, Claire, we've got to start with you. You played such a massive part in the show. Of course, Karen Betts, she was an icon of the show, it's fair to say, involved in the biggest, most moving storylines. But it's a shame, really, that you weren't here last week, because somebody that was a big part for you was, of course, Jack Ellis, who played Jim Fenner.
Yes,
you know,
he was.
And he gave you a lot of trouble. It's fair to say that Jim, yeah, he caused you a lot of grief, but we're delighted to say he's here with us now.
Oh my God!
Yeah, hello.
Surprise!
Hello.
Jackie fans.
It's Victor and King. It's Victor and King. Look at you two. Oh,
I haven't
hello.
seen you since
all
we
the
had
blondes
a
coming back
lunch
into
in
my
Harrogate.
life. All
I
the
haven't seen you for
blondes coming back.
ages.
No, I haven't seen you, darling. How are you, sweetheart? Oh, yeah,
I'm
you in
good.
Harrogate.
I'm good.
Are you?
Yeah,
Good.
busy. Still living up near Harrogate. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you
That's
out
the last
in
time I saw you, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you in the countryside?
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
I've been
You
really
can-
lucky because it's been, you know, when we had our first lockdown, it was beautiful weather, and I'm lucky I've got a garden, so it was kind of quite
Yeah.
bliss, really, to have a bit of time out from filming. So,
Yeah, I know.
but,
Yeah, but
it's all gone very odd now.
have you been doing social distancing Coronation Street? It's a bit difficult because it's quite a small street.
Well, I'm back at Emmerdale now.
No.
Yes.
Catch up, Jack. Catch
Jesus
up.
Christ. Oh God, sorry.
2.5 years.
I
I
love
prefer
you.
the mud. I prefer the mud to the cobbles.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, and you get more socially distanced in the countryside in Emmerdale than you would in Coronation Street. More
No,
opportunity
we've
to
got
show your
a
talent.
2 meter pole, and
Yeah.
if you're within that, you get whacked with it. So
It's like
yeah,
working with me, darling.
absolutely.
Nothing like working with a 2-meter pole. Know what I mean?
And are you in France?
I am, darling. I'm sitting in my little bureau, my little
Gorgeous.
study. I'm in Arles. I live in Arles now.
Lovely.
Hey, Vixter, yes, you don't know. I've moved south. Gone from Paris. I don't live down in the
I
south.
didn't know that. No, I knew. Obviously, I knew you were still France. But
Yeah.
is everything all right, mate?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm not very well. I'm a bit sweaty and I've had a bit of a virus.
I can hear it in your voice, in your chest. It
No,
seems a
yeah.
bit thin.
It's not my chest, actually, weirdly. It's my arse. But
Can you
Sorry.
taste anything or smell anything by any chance?
Unfortunately, I can. So it's not.
Oh dear.
COVID.
Okay.
It's not
good.
COVID. No, it's not COVID. Weirdly, I actually did have COVID, but I didn't have any symptoms.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I lost my taste. Mind you, I've never had much taste the first
That's
place.
Evening.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, you've got there
I
too
can
quick.
still make you. I can still make you both laugh. No, I am. What happened to me? Yes. Oh, yes. I ended up losing my taste and my whatever it smelled. So I went and had a test, and they said it's borderline. No, they said I've either had it or I'm about to start it, or I've had it. It was weird.
Right.
The French are very strange. Anyway, I ended up with a positive test, and then I had it tested 2 days later, and it was negative. So anyway, here I am, alive,
Wow.
and delighted to be able
Well,
to
at
see
least
you.
you're here.
I know. I'm not
Fenner's
dead
back.
yet, darling.
No,
It'll take more to carry me off.
absolutely.
Claire, what's it like for you to see Jack? Because you both had such a close relationship on the show. You were involved in each other's biggest storyline. So what's it like for you now, all these years later, to see Jack and be on the same screen, and of course Vicky as well?
It's
Be
great
very
because
careful.
I mean, yeah, I am. I'm choosing my words carefully. The good thing about this is, I mean, obviously Vix and I have stayed in touch and texted and things, and I have seen Jack since we went. But it's one of, if you get on with people, you can just, they're a kind of a mate for life. You just pick up where you left off. And that's what's really nice about it. And, we got on and it's great. I think in general, Vicky and I were just saying beforehand, it was one of those shows where people had a good laugh. It was different times. It was different filming from what it is now. There wasn't as much pressure. and we actually enjoyed it. And when you think there was a kind of cast of 40 lead women, basically, that could be a recipe for disaster, but it wasn't. We actually, as soon as anybody came in that was a little bit, you know, highfalutin, bang, down they went. You know, they were soon slapped down. That's true though, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, no, and you know, and we were saying as well, you know, it wasn't just us, but the cast as well. It was like, it was a really good, happy family, you know. And I'm not making that up. We're still in touch with some of the crew members now. Shout out to Spanner, went to burn makeup and our hair, and give up for Jim the painter as well. We know.
Oh, Jimmy, I've seen Jimmy. I got an email from him not so long ago, actually. There he is down in Southend, still there. He's got a lovely daughter now. I think she's trying to become an actress now, I think. Vicky, where are you? Are you in a bingo hall or something?
Oh, it's so for ladies, 88. It was Charlie's.
It's their front room.
Hey, look, Charlie's 13th birthday yesterday here.
Oh,
so
Charlie,
we did a friend of ours,
13.
Zoom virtual party where they were scavenger hunting, they were making rockets, they were doing this. So I just thought, blow it, I'm just going to leave the background up because I thought it was quite fun. So, but yeah,
all year
on is own, number one.
They were making rockets. It sounds like he's in the Mujahideen or something.
No, it's a PlayStation game, Jack.
Oh, right, okay.
PlayStation game.
Change your subject, Jack.
I'll give him a big happy birthday from Mr.
Thank
Fenner.
you, Jack. Well done. Cheers, mate.
He'll be happy. He'll be glad of that, won't he? Yeah.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah.
Claire, I would love to ask you, obviously, before we saw you in Bad Girls, we had known you, of course, for being in Emmerdale for the 10 years prior to that. So when the opportunity for Bad Girls came about for you, what were your initial thoughts? Because obviously you've gone from one continuous drama to another. So what were your thoughts? Were you excited?
Oh gosh, yes, I was. It was actually Brian Park, because obviously he was working at Corrie at the time, you know, the Axeman, and he knew I was leaving Emmerdale, and he just said, right, come and play with me. I've got this new thing. And the first series was just going out, and I went, I have so got to be involved in that. I just so want to be involved. And it was a lot grittier at first, in the first sort of 2 or 3, and then it kind of went down a different route. But I just so wanted to be involved in it. So, well, what are you smiling at, Jack?
Oh, the different route. It's the different route. Funny, we talked about
I just remember kissing your stomach with all those scars on and half of the prosthetics coming off in my mouth.
Oh. I remember snogging you and then ended up with your earring. Almost swallowing your earring and having to go to A&E to have it removed.
They keep showing that one.
Do they?
Oh, no.
The best though, the funniest moment I think we had was when we had to sing Kumbaya.
Say absolutely.
You said that last week.
In the church.
Yeah.
I have never cried and laughed so much at the same time.
No, it was a massive.
We couldn't have got the worst 2 people.
I still laugh. So do
I.
I laugh, and then in the middle of the night I wake up. I've actually woken up and thought about it and laughed in the middle of the night. It's one of the things that get me alive.
It's one of the funniest professional moments I think ever.
I know, but the funny thing is that it's like no one's actually told a joke. It's like pure situation comedy. It's like we're all
just like, there.
Yeah. It's just fabulous. Helen Fraser, do you remember? Oh my God, I had to sit next to her as well. And she go like this, singing. They got hard, got bigger and bigger. God love her.
Oh, I'm going to cry again.
The brilliant thing last week, I asked everybody who was on the call what their favourite moment of the entire show was, and Jack actually said it was dressing up as Karen Betts with the wig. And that storyline, Jack actually mentioned it was his favourite of the entire show.
And I guess to tie it in, guys, I'm sure Jack and Kerry remember this, but just as an added thing, that my husband was involved in that because Nick, my husband, ended up, because he's a stunt double, he's Jack's stunt double, but he ended up doubling Jack being Claire. So he was sitting down Pudding Lane with a blonde wig on at like 2 a.m. in the morning. These couple of blokes walked past and they were like, all right. Oh, what's she doing? It's like, just something called action, get me out of it, get me out of it. Yes, yeah.
Right.
We've still got the Polaroids. Absolutely brilliant.
There we are.
Vicky, I mean, it's fair to say the two Julies were the heart of the show. You were in every series, and they were just too lovable. And what I loved about the characters, they would finish each other's sentences. They were bubbly, and yeah, they would always be up to something. And I just loved the characters. What were your thoughts when you read the script for the first time and you realised the character that you were going to portray?
Well, like Claire, as soon as I got the script, I was just like, oh yeah, I want to be part of this, really, really do. Kika and I didn't know each other before. Big shout out to Kika, she's in hospital at the moment. She's all right, she's recovering, but just when I miss my mate. But well, yeah, so that's why she's
when you give her my love. When you give her my love. When you go and see her, give her a big hug. Right, I'll talk to you about that. Vicky, talk to you about this. Okay, sorry, go on.
Definitely. And so when we got the script, we weren't told which Julie we were going up for. We had to learn like both parts. And then we read, we went in obviously individually. I didn't know Kika then. And then they got us back for recon. There was just, I'm sure you guys know this, Lewis, but there was a room of like 6 of us. And then we were called in 2. So we made sure that we went in with everybody. And out of everybody, I knew all the other actors apart from Kika. And she turned out like, and now knowing Kika, what a lady, you know, she turned up in this little denim skirt, ponytail like that, chewing gum, and I thought, oh, that's got no class. Totally. She fooled us all, right? And then she was the last person I went in with, and so we did it, you know, did both parts and stuff. And then they went stand up, and you know, as you know, I'm 5'2", and Kika's not, and I stood up, and I was just like, okay, now, and I thought they'll never fit us on camera together, but apparently, as soon as we stood up, they went, that's the Julies. That's the Julies. So that was a great story in itself. But then that was in the November that we got the job. We started filming in the January. I didn't know a Kika, so we weren't in touch or anything like that. It wasn't like social media times or anything, was it? It wasn't like that. Yeah. So he turns up the read through, and I'm clocking people. I'm like, yeah, no, that is nice. And then this woman comes and sits next to me, bifocals, flipping italic pen, an ink pen. I'm like that. And I went, excuse me. I went, that's some for the other Julie. She went, I know, it's Christina Fleming Mirallee. It's very lovely to meet you, darling. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And I couldn't believe the transformation from the Kika Mirallee that I'd seen in this room to Christina Fleming Mirallee. And that was her. And I just thought, that's off to you, girl. And we've just been friends ever since. Absolutely blinding. I love her. We've had some great storylines. It's hard to think of I'm trying to think of different ones to tell you. But I mean, every time we did anything with Jack, we would fall to pieces as well, or Jack would. Do you know what I mean? It would always end up.
No, I fell to pieces, darling, not you. They were always extended days those days. I'm afraid.
Yeah. I mean, like, you had me and Kika on you, didn't you? And you'd be like that. What?
Well, you were terrified.
You know. Yeah.
Well,
all the songs and that, everything.
I'd say you and Claire had a really touching storyline about the characters in the show where Karen helped with the cancer storyline, and that was such a moving moment. And that's what I loved about Karen Betts, is she was very firm but fair, and she really cared about the prisoners. You know, she was a friend of them. There was no kind of them and us with Karen, but she could see through the BS. It's fair to say she knew when somebody was lying. What stands out to you, Claire, as a standout moment of your entire duration in the show?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's kind of more off camera that stood out to me than on camera. And certain moments that I can't possibly talk about. Pauline Campbell will know about them. But yeah, it was just the camaraderie, and I think it was just a one-off kind of Bad Girls. It wasn't like anything else. I know we'd had prison cell block H and you know, within these walls and things, but Bad Girls was just something completely different, and it really captured the public's imagination. It was like #1 show at 9 o'clock.
Do you remember that they wanted to access after the first series? Yeah, and they sort of thought we managed to go forward. That would have been a whole different ball game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
I mean, well, we'd all be in sheltered housing, I think.
Vicky,
or EastEnders.
Doing the same stuff, but in sheltered housing.
Everyone's in EastEnders from Bad Girls now, but
I
Vicky,
know.
I'd love to ask you, in regards to Series 8. You've not been in
apart from me.
We're waiting to get you in there. Series, when I look at Bad Girls as a fan, I love Series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But Series 8 for me, it was a different show when I watch it back. It was very theatrical, pantomime. What were your thoughts on that? Do you think it was maybe one series too much?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, I loved it all, not particularly, but up until about Series 5, then I think it started to just not fizzle. I think it had some moments, but it wasn't as strong as it is. And like you say, by the time we got to Series 8, Kika and I kind of went, oh, we started, so we might as well finish. So, you know, that was really, you know, but with good attitude, with positive attitude, we thought, well, what, you know, we might as well stay. And I think that we made the right choice. But oh yeah, it was pantomime. I think Claire just.
I think also at the time they Shed, the production company, had got Footballers' Wives started, and we were always the flagship show. But that kind of snowballed and took over, and we kind of got a little bit forgotten. And we felt we were kind of the second-class citizens, even though we were, you know, the forerunners.
Well, the school, you know, yeah.
So,
Vicky, you had some very funny.
Sorry, I'd just like to add.
Yeah.
I think I died in episode 7. Series 7. So I actually wasn't.
There's nothing to do with you.
I wasn't in Series 8 actually.
No, we killed you by then, Jack, hadn't we?
I know, yeah.
That would explain why I wasn't so much of a fan. But no, Vicky.
No, I think that Vicky's right. I think by Series 5, I think and you're both right, actually dead right. I think the eye went off us, so the writing went off us because they were the same writers, weren't they? Then they were starting Footballers' Wives, and I do think the energy just disappeared and went away. Yeah, I agree entirely. So that was my view.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you.
Vic, we spoke to you about when you first read the script about the character and you fell in love with it. But were there times when you read the script and thought, "Oh my God, are they getting me to do that?" Because the Julies had some really funny, outrageous storylines.
Oh yeah, I remember even in the first series at the end, we had to, you know, everybody knows it, you know, the turkey basting story, and I remember reading it and thinking. Oh, thank God it's not me. Thank God it's her. That was one of my, I'm all right, Jack. Oh, so much. I mean, the even up to the point of God, just so many things that me and Kiki used to get embarrassed about. Kiki and I are very outwardly vocal, but I would say physically, you know, we're not the bah, 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 bah. And anything that it was mortifying that we had to show off a bit of leg or a bit of something. I mean, even when I'd see the breast cancer thing, they said, "Oh, it's just a brilliant storyline," and I'm not mocking it, and it was wonderful to do, and so many, you know, such wonderful feedback and support for it. But my first thought was like, I've got to discover the lump in a shower, and I went, "Come on, a fucking shower scene! Oh my God!" And I remember them wrapping me up in like a bandage because I was so shy going into the shower, just going, "Oh look, God, just see my shoulder or something." So that was sometimes really, really hard because you just thought, "Oh, they're out there and stuff," you know. And also the singing and the dancing does not come naturally to Kika and I, as these two will know. So when they went,
really?
"Oh, you can do it. You choreograph the dances." We were like that. So, you know,
you could have got Jack and I to do it.
Exactly, we should have done it. Yeah, I was very shy as well. I never wanted to show any part of my anatomy ever.
That is so untrue, guys. Just as you
I know.
Yeah,
I know. We talked about this in the last.
We found out all about Jack. It sounds
inappropriate,
brilliant.
Jack. Yeah,
inappropriate. Yeah.
Well, we were lucky enough.
Listen, it was 7 o'clock in the morning. It was 7 o'clock in the morning when that happened. So don't give me too much of a hard time.
I love him.
It was
lucky. Jack was there when Vicky Bush reenacted the prison rap that, of course, the Free Julies did. Can you remember the prison rap, Vicky?
It haunts me. It haunts me. It pops up every now and again. If I put in my name, it pops up as a feed. Imprisonment is banishment. I'm like, stop it. And all I could hear was the drum beat was getting faster and faster. So grab what it is. And I was just like, oh, we did that for a whole day. One whole day.
Yeah.
I went out of my mind at the end. I was just like that. Yeah. Terrible. I'm glad Vicky Bush can remember it all.
She loved it. I mean,
She did a very good GO.
So we're so lucky that we've got Jack and Claire as well, because I mean, Claire, he framed you for murder. He sexually assaulted you. So I mean, well, the character, of course.
Yeah.
And she's still here. Still talking to me.
It's just a normal storyline down the village at the moment.
Of
So
course.
I'm used to it. I get these scripts and I don't even go, I can't do that. I just go, oh great. I'll just murder someone today. Yeah. So it's not shocking.
Oh, I mean, I mentioned last week, one of my favourite scenes was Karen Betts and Mad Tessa. And there's a moment where Jim Fenner,
oh my God, yeah,
the hose pipe, and he squirts with all this water to get the needle that she's got out of her hands. That was such a good, gripping story.
She actually had that needle, and we did it. Well, there's a few shots, but one particularly long shot, and it went right along the corridor, down the stairs, and she was that close to me.
Yeah,
should have had a mint. That's all I'm saying. But we were at it for a whole day, just literally going through, you know, the prison with that needle, and it was pretty horrific actually, because it was more AIDS in those days than, you know, vaccines for coronavirus.
There were so many gripping stories, and one of them that we mentioned last week, which I loved, was the fire that Snowball caused. You know, the explosion. That was like a Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, what was it like for you all to be part of that?
Hot.
It was hot. Hot. Yes.
Yeah. Because I remember, obviously, go on, Jack. Sorry, mate.
I'm just remembering. Was I in that? I don't think I was in that. Was I?
You stopped Snowball from you and Karen Betts were trying to stop Snowball from leaving the prison because she was dressed as a.
Senior moment. Yeah, got it.
Well, we all had like a lot of us had stunt doubles, and they're wonderful. Do you know what I mean? When he took care of us mums, there'd be Luciana. But what they did, they put us quite close to fire. I haven't worked with fire before. Of course, the Julies had loads of jewelry on, right? So as we're standing by the fire, I'm thinking, no, this is a safe distance, and I'm thinking, something's burning me, a kick like that. Of course, all our cheap jewelry literally was caught catching on fire and like melting on us, and our little bits of plastic, you know, in our costumes, we just like going, you know. So, yeah. So it was like, step back with your cheap jewelry, Julies.
Yeah.
It was great.
Just keep it diamonds and gold.
Yes, darling, I know. I loved doing that. I mean, hopefully it looked right. I think we were worried it would look a little bit too theatrical, but I think they captured some decent moments, and especially with lovely Lindsey, poor old Shaz, because she died in it. And I think that was a really sad storyline.
Yeah.
You know, she just sort of went off, and, you know.
Well, one thing we found hilarious that we spoke about last week was, of course, Christopher Biggins taking Buki Lester and her son home. It was such a... You wouldn't put it together. I always thought, who wrote that and decided let's get Christopher Biggins part of the story? But it's one of the legendary moments on the show.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of... I mean, it wasn't just me, but I was friends with Biggins before, and so we were hanging out, and he was like, "Can we get him on the show?" And I was like, and I said, "I'm sure we can." And that's how, not just through me. I'm not taking responsibility, but it was kind of that link. And when then I remember standing on the set, just going, "It's Christopher Biggins there." All right. No, as if it's the most normal thing in the world. It was brilliant. I love old Biggins.
I think I only had 1 or 2 scenes with him. It's a shame, really.
Yeah.
Well, Claire, I've got to say, it's so good to see you back in Emmerdale, because you are just, I loved you in everything that you do, you know, Emmerdale, and especially Bad Girls. There's so many times I watched and I'm like, go on, Karen.
I'm the king of camp.
And you've always got these little looks that you do as well, which just adds to the scene. It's kind of the stare. But Vicky, one person that you know who's been a big support of the reunions, he loves Bad Girls, he's a very good friend of yours, Rich. He's been brilliant with research and stuff on this, and he's actually going to come on just to ask a quick question to you. So Vicky knows him very well.
Where is
Rich and Claire. He loves you as well. He's a big Bad Girls.
I know, yes.
So Rich should be on the call now. Hi, Rich.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing, darling? Big love, big love.
Thanks for coming on, Rich. I know that you've been a brilliant support. You're very good friends with Vicky. You've met Jack, of course, and Claire's done you a lovely video before. But I know you've got a question that you're going to, a couple of questions you're going to ask now.
Excuse me.
So I want to start by just saying thank you to all of you for the work you did on the show, the characters you created. You gave me so much entertainment. So thanks to all of you. I've got a little question. I've got a question for Claire, if that's okay. Karen Betts had an epic exit from the show when she was arrested in the middle of G-Wing in front of everyone. How did you feel about leaving the show the first time round and coming back the next series to bring down Jim Fenner?
Well, it was kind of by choice, because as we've spoken about, you know, the show was going in a little bit of a different direction, and I just thought it's kind of time to go now. And it was Brian who said, and I thought, oh, great, big exit, lovely, fantastic, you know, just how you want it. And then he said, well, actually, you could just come back for a little bit just to finish it off. So we did the whole Jim Fenner story a bit as well. So yeah, it was my choice, but it was great to have such a good storyline.
It was great. It was one of the best exits from the show. So.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you.
I know you had another question, Rich, which I thought was good about Paul, Mark Waddle. So I don't know if you want to ask that one as well.
Yeah. So obviously in Emmerdale, Kim was married to Steve Marchant, played by Paul, and you were reunited just a couple of years later, back in Bad Girls again. How was that being reunited?
It was warmer having a relationship down in London than it was in some stable block in Yorkshire. But yeah, Paul's great. We always seem to kind of get paired together as a couple. And then there's a couple of other actors that I always end up being married to as well, Mark Wingett being one of them. But yeah, I haven't seen Paul for ages actually, but it was weird that they kind of put us together again, but it was great because it was comfortable doing, you know, relationship scenes with somebody that you're actually you're friends with, so that made it a lot easier.
That's brilliant. Well, do you know, it's been amazing to have you all part of this, and it was great that Jack, you know, thank you for coming back on, because obviously you worked with Vicky and Claire for such a long time, and I, you know, I wanted you on because last week we realised that you're a bit of a pranker on set, you know, making.
Sorry, was that pranker? Was that
I was called the whoopee cushion. I brought on that whoopee cushion that made noises. Remote control. Oh, that was funny.
Yeah. A remote control cushion.
Yeah, but it was like a voice box, so it did fart sounds.
I think it was called a fart machine
somewhere, and then you had the remote control. And we used to put it near makeup or costume, and they'd all be looking around. Nobody would admit anything, and we would just be like this again in the background, like stupid school children.
I think did it feature in Kumbaya? I think it might have done. I don't know.
I don't think we needed it in Kumbaya.
No, it's a joy. I mean, it's lovely to see you guys. I love doing this. It's great.
One thing I've always wanted to know when it comes to filming, you know, if you've got someone making other people laugh, are there times when the director says, right, come on guys, can we get, do they get frustrated with you?
Yeah, furious, mate. Oh,
and you start laughing all the more.
That's partially the point, really. It's just how far can you wind up the director? You know, it's that thing, you know, you know, how far can you go to the edge until you actually get sacked, and then you go, what happened?
But I know, you know, you're an iconic character in the show. You're a fabulous actress, and Vicky, as always, you're just one of the nicest people to talk to. You really are. You're so genuine. And Jack, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you to Rich.
And Jack, you're not.
Jack, you're fabulous.
You're a pranker, Jack. You're a pranker.
I'm a pranker.
You're the best pranker on the show. Rich, thank you for coming on and asking your brilliant questions as well.
WH.
For having me, and big love to all of you. Hope to see you all soon.
Nice to meet you, darling.
Thank you. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Vicky. And thanks, Jack, for taking part in the reunion.
Bye.
All right. See you later. Love you.
Bye.